Hello, and thank you for attending today's Cyber Operations and Risk Management briefing. The current ransomware attack, along with the previous denial of service attack, demonstrated that future Global Summit leadership needs to rethink their software assurance measures. Specifically, they should require regular patching of software in their systems in order to mitigate vulnerabilities, consider the principle of least privilege to help mitigate potential insider threat access to data and information, and software should be tested prior to integration into network's authorization boundary. Finally, a layered defense should also be implemented in order to make it more difficult for adversaries to penetrate the network, move laterally, access unauthorized information, and compromise the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. The software development lifecycle can consist of 6 to 7 phases. First is the identify phase, in which the customer, developers, and project manager meet to discuss gaps in software capabilities. Next is the planning phase, in which the scope of the project is discussed in order to narrow down the issue to a solvable solution. Once the problem and scope have been narrowed down, the design phase can begin. In this phase, the team establishes the design specification to determine how the software will eventually be shaped into a final product. After requirements are determined, the implementation step begins. During this step, the team hashes out tasks to meet the requirements and begins to code the initial model of the solution in order to bring the design to life. After coding for the solution has been initiated, it is time to test out the design and plan. During this testing phase, tests are conducted in order to smooth out issues with previous plans made and determine how effectively requirements were met in the alpha and beta version of the solution. Once the team is satisfied with the test results, the software can be released to a greater user base. In our case, that may simply be using the programs in our respective FVEY Summit systems. For private organizations, the release phase often means making the software available to the public or end user. Finally, once the software is released, the developer is still responsible to maintain it in production. Needs may change or new unforeseen bugs may arise. In a way, the final release is a much larger scale test that goes on indefinitely, and new issues might even generate a new development cycle. Currently, there are minimal supply chain risks. Our FVEY Summit equipment software had already been pre-approved through the same rigorous process as the rest of the UK's domestic security apparatus. It is now known that the ransomware that infected Summit systems was the Reviton ransomware, a UK-based malware. Insider threats are the main threat to consider to the Summit. Any software or information developed specifically for the Summit was likely internally developed. Over the past couple of weeks, the FVEY Summit teams have sustained a handful of cyber attacks that have successfully penetrated their network. A denial of service attack using a UDP flood as a smokescreen was able to exfiltrate some data from Global Summit servers. And currently, a successful ransomware attack was initiated from a Trojan horse attack to lock down systems and demand a ransom. This latest attack illustrates the insider threat vulnerability. The ransomware attack in particular seems to illustrate a lack of proper training and lack of network security software. Forensic analysis determined the malware downloaded was the Reviton ransomware, which is a relatively old malware attack. Because Summit systems did not detect this known malware signature, this indicates that Summit systems need to be upgraded to the latest antivirus software and anti-malware tools. Automatically updated anti-malware IDS and IP solutions should specifically be implemented. Some solutions to consider would be the McAfee mVision Endpoint Protection Suite, Bitdefender Gravity Zone Elite Security Suite, SideGuard or HotSite and Cloud Backup Services. Both the McAfee and Bitdefender suites incorporate automated antivirus software, threat monitoring, machine learning-based heuristic intrusion detection capabilities, and intrusion prevention system capabilities. However, while Bitdefender has ransomware protection as a default, it is not scalable for large enterprises. McAfee, on the other hand, is scalable but itemizes web security as a separate cost. SideGuard as an open source solution is free but lacks many of the tools included in the McAfee and Bitdefender suites. Specifically, it does not include antivirus protection. Furthermore, while it does have some intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system capabilities, it requires other tools to reach its full potential. In addition, to add redundancy, a HotSite or cloud backup service should be purchased as a temporary solution to the ransomware attack. When deciding which software option to implement, functionality trade-offs and solution costs should be considered. In terms of cost, McAfee's mVision Endpoint Protection Suite is not publicly available, while Bitdefender's Gravity Zone Elite Security Suite costs $5,800 for up to 100 devices, and SideGuard is free. Hot sites can be expensive to implement, but they are very effective at maintaining the availability of data. While cloud backups can provide more availability for data, but they also introduce more supply chain and downtime risks. After considering functionality trade-offs and solution costs, it is recommended that the team implement McAfee's mVision Endpoint Suite because of its scalability with unlimited licenses as a default and its included ransomware protection. It also comes with an automated threat intelligence report solution. In regards to contract language to use for future software acquisitions, it is recommended that the team utilize the Australian Information Security Manual Contract Language Security Controls. This would include language that requires the vendor to provide log information related to the organization's information and services, protecting provided information in a secure and portable manner for backups, and protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information provided to the supplier. In addition to the ISM guidance, it is recommended that the language be added to require testing during RFQ to test for functionality and vulnerabilities, and that software code has traceability to determine where it is originated from as a supply chain risk measure. Thank you for attending today's briefing, and please take the time now to raise any questions or concerns you may have.